like I said, you want a lap on the right in this circumstance where first it's a left. And some people noticed how I was out in the snow where the good line is on the inside. That's where I'm going to end up in the race, and you want to be prepared to ride that line that you're setting yourself up for. But all this straightaway stuff here that's really wide, there's one track. Now on the first lap and every other lap, there's going to be people on that one track because it's the best place to ride. But you're not going to be in first place probably. You want to pass people, and you need to be prepared to ride those B and C lines. So when I'm pre-riding the track, I know what the good line is. That's pretty obvious. I'm going to ride the good line in the race, but I need to know that there's no big holes on the side of this, and I need to know that it's safe and that I can make passes there when I need to. So you'll see a lot of top riders off the good line, and maybe you'd think, oh, maybe it's faster over there. It probably isn't, but I'll show you some places later on where maybe the line isn't the fastest place, but a lot of the time you're just looking for good places to pass. Good. This is like an example of where the race line, the best line, isn't where everybody's riding. The proper race line on a tight corner like this is to go outside, inside, outside. So you start at the outside, you come to the inside, and you drift to the outside, making it the broadest corner possible. When it's slippery like this, it's especially important to do that. So if I rode this corner, I'd drift out to the tape and be rubbing the tape right here, and then dive towards the apex, the inside of the corner, and then depending on the grip on the outside, probably drift all the way to the tape on the outside so that I can hold the most speed through the corner. There's a bunch of places where I'll be like that on the this off-camber area, especially right now, it's really slippery. So you want to try to hit that as square as you can, which would mean in this circumstance maybe a line will develop out by the tape there so that you can go more at less of a lean angle into this uphill, because the more square you are, the less likely your tires are to slip out. If it's grippy, it's no big deal, you just pedal right across this, but if it were to stay like this, you might look for other lines depending on how slippery it is down there. So, you know, try to do your turning where you have a berm or some camber and try to stand it up across stuff that's off camber or at the wrong angle. Challenging parts, like there's that little step up over on the far side in the sun there. Anything that's like that you're having trouble with, you know, the first time you see it, it's best to just stop when you're pre-riding and conquer your fear or perfect your technique on whatever is giving you trouble. So if you mess up, don't be afraid to go back and do it several times, because it's a short course and you need to have the way you ride it perfect. So also, like these step downs, these are blind and you can ride them really fast, but you just want to make sure that you kind of memorize what side of the track is good so that you can commit to going over them at top speed and not, you know, be wondering what's over there. You know, if there's only a couple of 3 of them maybe, you should know what's over there. You know where you're going to enter it, and you do it the same time every time so that you avoid hitting a big bump or doing whatever. So when you come up stairs like this or any other run up, make sure that you switch gears before you get off your bike instead of switching them after you get on your bike, which will ball you up. Just keep that in mind. Anytime it's not just a fast, quick run, make sure you're changing gears prior. I mean, a U-turn like that, and that's pretty much a straight U-turn with pretty consistent grip. You basically want your bars to be rubbing the tape on the outside on the way in, and then leaning your elbow in so you don't hit that stake on the inside, and your bike's leaned in and you're just barely able to not hit the inside, and then drifting. Another thing to consider on a corner that's tight like that, a lot of the time the tape is this high and the tracks stop at the tape. If your bike's leaned over, there's 8 inches of good grip beyond the tape that you can use that nobody really uses because it doesn't make visual sense. But if you stretch the tape a little bit, you can get a little bit more speed through a lot of those really tight corners. But that corner, basically, you just stay as far outside, cut as deep inside, and drift it out as far, It's pretty straightforward. If it goes from being, if the camber changes or it gets slippery somewhere, then it changes, but that's pretty straightforward. The best line through this is right next to those barrels because it sets you up on the inside for this. But if you're running 25 PSI and some tubulars, you really want to go through that and maybe get a flat tire to save yourself a second and a half. So if it's the last lap and you're duking it out for a podium or something, yeah, maybe you do. But depending on how that develops, you might want to steer clear of that stuff to save your equipment. Try dismounting earlier to carry some speed into the run if you're going to commit to running it, and you'll pass a lot of people that try to ride it and then fumble and stall and then start running. So the descent should be rideable no matter what. Though scary. Tire pressure depends a lot on what your setup is. Like tubeless stuff, you can run less pressure generally. Because tubes you have to run more pressure to protect the tube. So that's pretty rough right there. And if you find a smooth line through it, then maybe you can run less pressure. But you gotta basically have the protection so you don't pinch flat. So tubes you might be running, I don't know, 35, 40 pounds. I'm not sure. Tubulars, like she's probably needs 25 psi. Like Ryan Trebona and I will run about 27, 28. Usually about 1 or 2 psi less in the front, just because there's less weight in the front. You would get more grip there that way. But
and snow, you run pretty much.
The slipperier it is, the more important it is that you have that less pressure.
To have more traction.
Yeah, and since you're hitting stuff slower, there's less impact, and you can run less pressure too. But it's kind of a slippery slope because it feels really good to have really low pressure. And then it only takes once to flat,